newspaper analysis. So let's start without any further ado. As you know, at the top of the news each and every day these days is the news about the US and Israeli attack on Iran, as well as the retaliatory attacks that are being made by the Islamic Republic of Iran. Now, before we get into anything else, the most important piece of news is the selection of the new supreme leader of Iran. So what is important for you to remember is that this is going to be the third supreme leader of Iran. Okay, what is his name? His name is Mojtaba Khamenei. Okay, as you can tell from the surname, Mojtaba Khamenei is the son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the second supreme leader of Iran, who was recently assassinated by the joint attacks by USA as well as Israel. Okay, so I hope this is absolutely clear. Now, you see the word here, picks. So we must know briefly at least what is the process for selecting or electing the new supreme leader of Iran. What is the body that conducts this election? Okay, so the body which elects the new supreme leader in the Islamic Republic of Iran, that body's name is the Assembly of Experts. Okay, so it is the Assembly of Experts whose job it is to elect the new supreme leader. Okay, this is a body created by Article 108 of the Constitution of Iran, and this process is provided in Article 111. So Article 111 provides that in situations like this, the Assembly of Experts has to take a decision. Okay, so important facts: the new or third supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, he is the son of the second supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Remember, Iran is a republic. That is to say, their heads of state are elected, right? Now, you might say that this is hereditary, but remember that Mojtaba Khamenei has not automatically become the next supreme leader simply because he is the son of Ali Khamenei. Okay, it is a choice, an election done by the Assembly of Experts of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Okay, so this is the most important piece of news. In terms of history, you should remember the first supreme leader, Ruhollah Khomeini, the second supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and the third supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. Okay, so that is vital for you to remember. Of course, this new system, what is the system of Iran? We can call it a theocratic republic. Okay, that is to say, it is an Islamic country, but it is a republic. What does that mean? A country is called a republic when its head of state is elected rather than hereditary. Okay, so that is the structure of government, and the new supreme leader has been chosen. There were reports of this for a while, but it is now confirmed. Okay, let's go a little bit backwards. Now, as a result of the crisis in the Middle East, as a result of the US and Israeli attack on Iran, there has been a lot of economic upheaval, right? What kind of upheaval are we talking about? The price of oil has shot through the roof. Okay. In fact, yesterday, intraday, the price of oil per barrel even exceeded $110. Finally settled a little above $100. But this is causing a huge crisis in the world. Why is the price of oil being impacted? Because Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, which is an important water link through which a huge chunk of the oil supplies of the world pass. So because of this uncertainty, many companies which provide insurance for ships which carry oil, those companies have stopped giving risk insurance, right? So that first caused an impact. And even otherwise, because of Iran's strategic location at the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran is able to stop a lot of shipments of oil which would pass through the strait. And this has led, of course, to a shortage, and it has spiked the prices. Okay. Of course, countries including India have strategic reserves of oil and petroleum, but usually they are restricted to a certain number of days, right? So I think India has about 25 or so days of oil reserves, meaning we have enough reserves to satisfy 25 days of demand in the country. Other countries maintain more strategic petroleum reserves as well. Okay, so there is a gas shortage. That is one economic impact. Oil shortage and gas shortage, it is leading to a spike in price, right? Including of petroleum products as well as liquefied natural gas. Okay, the other impact it is having is on the stock markets of the world, right? Fears of economic instability and economic crisis have led to huge falls in the important indexes of various stock markets of the world, including India's Nifty and Sensex. Okay. Finally, it has led to a spike in the price of gold, right? Which is the classic form of saving followed in India as well as around the world. Okay. So I hope this is absolutely clear. Now, moving forward, there does not seem to be an end to the attacks and counter-attacks between Israel, between USA and Iran, as well as all of the neighboring countries of Iran. There have been situations involving Lebanon and Turkey as well in the past few days and weeks. So the crisis is spiraling out of control. Many experts say that we are already in the midst of the third world war. We just don't know it. Okay. Moving forward, so we've seen the details about the new supreme leader. Let's now go back up. As you know, India won the T20 World Cup. I just wanted to flag this cartoon since it appeared in the newspaper today. Okay, so just keep this in mind. Number one, you should know who were the hosts of the T20 World Cup this year. They were India and Sri Lanka. How frequently does the T20 World Cup happen? It happens biennially, meaning once in 2 years. And who won the T20 World Cup this year? It is India. Who organizes this tournament? It is the ICC, or the International Cricket Council, which is headquartered in the United Arab Emirates and is currently chaired by the son of the Home Minister, Jai Shah. Okay. Moving forward, I know there has been a lot of news on cheetahs over the last month and this month, but these are exciting times. As you all know, Project Cheetah is ongoing and has been ongoing for a few years. Remember, the cheetahs which used to be indigenously found in India, which were the Asiatic cheetahs, have been extinct in India for at least 75 years. Okay. Asiatic cheetahs today are only found in one country, and I'm sure you can guess, considering the state of the world, it is Iran. Okay, so Asiatic cheetahs today are only found in Iran. They used to be found in India as well, but they went extinct at least 75 years ago. Okay, now under Project Cheetah, the government has tried to reintroduce cheetahs. Now, which cheetahs? African cheetahs into the Indian ecosystem. So that is why India collaborated, and right now it has agreed with 3 different countries, Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa, to translocate African cheetahs into the Indian ecosystem, let them breed and give birth to their litters in India in the hopes of generating a domestic cheetah population. So that is the context for this news story. And as you can see, as of today, the total number of cheetahs in India is 53. Okay. So the latest cheetah has given birth to a litter, bringing the total to 53. Of course, not all of the cubs survive till adulthood, but this is the number as of date. This is going to be a recurring news story through this year, because now we have a decent number of cheetahs in the country, and they will, of course, mate and give birth to more and more litters. At least that is the hope of Project Cheetah. Why else will this be relevant this year? Because India is going to be hosting the International Big Cats Alliance Summit this year. Okay, so that's going to be very significant. The final dates are not out yet, but we will see a lot of news stories about that. As you know, India sort of pioneers and pushes 3 international organizations which are located and headquartered in India. One is the International Solar Alliance, one is the International Big Cats Alliance, and the third one is the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So CDRI and IBCA are headquartered in Delhi, whereas the ISA is headquartered in Gurgaon or Gurugram as it is now known. Okay, so I just wanted to flag this news story for you. Moving forward, the next story we have, by the way, one more economic impact that's being seen is a fall in the value of the Indian rupee. Okay, a lot of this is precipitated basically by the crisis between the US, Israel, and Iran, and global instability is leading to an impact on the value of the Indian rupee as well. Okay, as you all know, India is heavily dependent on imports for our oil and petroleum requirements. Okay, so when there is global instability which impacts the oil market, it leads to an impact on our stock markets, on the value of our currency, and so on and so on. Okay, so just keep that context in mind. I just wanted to flag for you. So it mentions here stock indices. You should know the 2 most important ones. So the 2 most important stock exchanges are BSE and NSE. So the Bombay Stock Exchange and the National Stock Exchange. The benchmark index of the Bombay Stock Exchange is called Sensex or sensitive index, whereas the benchmark index of the National Stock Exchange is called Nifty 50. Okay, so these 2 indexes you should know about. They are absolutely important and relevant for you to know. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, now moving forward, the next news story is what is ongoing in Parliament. Now, as you all know, there are 3 important sessions of Parliament in the year. We have the budget session, the first session of the year. Then we have the monsoon session, which is the second. And finally, we have the winter session. So right now, of course, the budget session is ongoing, which is usually held in 2 parts. Okay, so part 1 and 2. So in part 1 of the budget session, the main agenda or business which takes place in Parliament is the presentation of the budget, the tabling of the economic survey, etc., etc. In part 2 of the budget session, which has just begun, so there's a break between the 2 parts. Part 2 has just begun yesterday, and this is where the budget actually gets passed and other legislative businesses undertaken. Okay, so 2 very important things which are in the news with reference to Parliament. Number 1, and both of these are removals by them. 1, the motion to debate the removal of the speaker, and number 2, there is about to be a debate on the removal of the Chief Election Commission. Okay, so as you can see from the news story, the resolution on speaker's removal not taken up yet because there were protests in Parliament by the opposition. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Now, the notice to debate this removal had been given much earlier in the first part of the budget session. now that the notice period of 14 days is complete, there is going to be a debate on the motion. The rules say that the speaker cannot preside over a debate on his own removal. Who is the speaker right now? It is Om Birla. Who was the first ever speaker of the Lok Sabha? It was G.V. Mavalankar or Ganesh Vasudev Mavalankar. By the way, the very first time a motion to remove a speaker was brought was against the first speaker. However, no speaker has ever been removed till date in Indian constitutional history. So there's going to be a debate. What majority is required to remove the speaker? It is a simple majority. Okay? Just like the speaker is elected by simple majority by the members of the Lok Sabha, he can be removed by a simple majority by the members of the Lok Sabha. Okay? So please keep that in mind. The second, as I told you, is going to be a motion to remove the Chief Election Commissioner. Okay? The name is mentioned here. It is Ganesh Kumar. As you know, there have been significant ongoing protests by opposition parties as well as parts of the public against the Election Commission's special intensive revision. Right? There were many crises which unfolded through the West Bengal special revision as well. So, and this is something that had been mooted even last year, but this seems to be. So right now, just note it says May. Okay. So right now it is in the proposal stage, like the parties are discussing it. However, it is likely that they are going to move a motion to remove the Chief Election Commission. Now you should know that under Article 324 of the Constitution, the Election Commission of India is created, and it comprises of the Chief Election Commissioner and 2 other election commissioners. Now, the Chief Election Commissioner has a special high degree of protection under the Constitution. Once a Chief Election Commissioner is appointed, he can only be removed in the same way as the removal of a judge of the Supreme Court or the High Court. Okay, this is a protection given to judges of Supreme Court, judges of High Court, the Comptroller and Auditor General, and the Chief Election Commission. All of these offices are meant to be independent of the political executive. So in order to remove Supreme Court judges, High Court judges, the Chief Election Commissioner, and the Comptroller and Auditor General, a special level of majority is required. Okay? What is that majority? 2/3 of those who are present and voting plus simple majority of the total membership. Let's check it with an example. Let's say a house has 100 members and on a particular date, 50 people are present. Okay? Now, out of these 50 people, 50 out of 50 vote yes to remove the Chief Election Commissioner. Is the Chief Election Commissioner removed? The answer is no. Why? Because 50 out of 50, it satisfies the requirement for 2/3 of those who are present and voting. However, what is the simple majority of 100? It is 51. And since it is more than 50 and only 50 votes have been given to remove, this motion will fail. Okay? So very important for you to remember, 2/3 majority of those who are present and voting and simple majority of the total members. This is the majority which is required to remove 3 sets of people. Judges, that is to say High Court and Supreme Court judges. Number 2, the Chief Election Commissioner. And number 3, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Okay, I hope this is absolutely clear. So the motion for the removal of the speaker is going to be debated tomorrow and perhaps on subsequent days. and it is possible that you may see a motion to remove the Chief Election Commissioner, Gyanesh Kumar. Okay, I hope this is absolutely clear. By the way, I wanted to flag a very interesting article for you today, which discusses artificial intelligence as well. So this article is titled "Why Algorithmic Sovereignty." What does this mean? What is sovereignty in general, right? We describe India as a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. This is found in the preamble of our constitution. When we say that India is sovereign, it means that we are independent. We are ruled by no foreign power. We are free to determine our own destiny. So in this context, algorithmic sovereignty. So what this author argues is that India must not be reliant on algorithms, on AI models, on large language models, which are developed in the West. We must have our own sovereign AI stack. Why is that? So he gives an example of asking a question to an artificial intelligence large language model. About what? About the US sinking the Iris Dana, which is an Iranian ship in the Indian Ocean. Then he says the response he gets, he talks about it. Then he starts to cross-question the large language model. I'm forgetting which one he used. So he starts to ask it questions, but how about this thing? How about this thing? And ultimately, that large language model agrees with him and changes what it had said. Basically, the author had asked a question to the LLM. What was this sinking and torpedoing of the Iranian ship by the US legal under international law, right? And what this author shows in this article is that it depends what data a model has been trained on, right? And so the author says the large language model was simply responding based on Western sources and Western scholarship, and was ignoring the legal interpretation made by many of the global South countries, including India. So this article argues for algorithmic sovereignty. Okay. Moving forward, next, an interesting article today. So again, nothing is confirmed. It says the government sends feelers to the opposition. So there is a possibility that there may be an amendment relating to the women's reservation. Okay. Now, remember, just a few years back, the 106th constitutional amendment was passed, which provided for 1/3 reservation of seats for women in the Lok Sabha and the Vidhan Sabha. Okay. Remember, the panchayats and municipalities already have 1/3 reservation for women and have had it since the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts, respectively. However, it was not there for Parliament and for Lok Sabha and the Vidhan Sabhas, and so the 106th Amendment Act provided for the same. But it put a condition. Said first there must be a census, then there must be a delimitation. Only then will this reservation come into force. It was heavily criticized at the time. By the way, another name for the 106th Amendment is the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. Okay, so it is possible that this condition may be amended or removed, right? The conditions put on the beginning of the women's reservation. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Let's see how this story develops over the next few days. I thought it would be a good opportunity to discuss the 106th Amendment. Okay. So this is an interesting article today in the newspaper. It was in the Hindu, and it discusses the capabilities approach given by Amartya Sen, India's Nobel Prize winning economist, who was a pioneer in the development of the field of development economy. Okay. So if you want to try out some questions on this article, you can log in on clatpossible.com. we have the Roznama, on which you can practice questions on articles which have come in today's newspaper on the same day. You'll also see the top 5 news stories of the day. You'll see this YouTube video there, and you will find words of the day to practice and then questions for you to practice. Okay, so we put together this little compilation. It is absolutely free and open to everyone. So feel free to log on at clatpossible.com. You can go to the button which says free material. Okay, all right. Moving forward, now something interesting. So the article says the RBI, or the Reserve Bank of India, buys 50,000 crores worth of GSECs. Okay, so what are GSECs? GSEC stands for government securities. Okay, GSECs are government securities, and this has been done in furtherance of OMOs, or open market operations. Okay, so what are open market operations? It is when the RBI buys or sells government securities from or to the market. That is called open market operations. So let's say the RBI wants there to be more liquidity, more money supply in the market. What will it do? It will buy government securities, because to buy them from the market, the RBI will have to pay that money to someone, increasing the liquidity in the market. Suppose the RBI wants to reduce the money supply in the market, it will sell government securities, because people will have to put the money and give it to the RBI to acquire the government securities. So the RBI conducts open market operations in order to ensure money supply and currency stability. Okay, so the RBI, in response to the crisis after the US and Israeli attack on Iran, has conducted open market operations. In this case, it wants to increase the liquidity. What does that mean? It wants to increase the money supply which is available in the market, and therefore it has bought government securities. Okay, so this is important. Who is the Reserve Bank governor? Right now it is Sanjay Malhotra. Who was the first governor? Osborne Smith. And who was the first Indian governor? His name was C.D. Deshmukh. Okay, so we will discuss in detail about the basics of the Reserve Bank in a future video. Moving forward, the last slide for today is simply an article about Balayan Shah, or Balayendra Shah, who has emerged victorious. He actually fought against KP Sharma Oli, the prime minister who resigned after the Gen Z protest, and won over him in the same constituency. He is a leader of the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, and now that that party has won the election and has already attained majority, he is all set to become the Prime Minister of Nepal. He will be the first Buddhist PM of Nepal, and he is only 35 years of age, which is low by any standards of politics. Okay, so let's see what the future brings. That's all for the newspaper analysis for today. It was nice to see you all. Now go log into the Roznama and practice the questions from the editorials of the day. Okay, so hope to see you all tomorrow. Good night and goodbye.